Guys, we're in the dark here because I did a new mod and I wanted to show it off. I'll show it real quick and then I got to take it apart and just button up the screws in there. So I'll show you how small the parts are in there, but I wanted to show the mod first. So here we go. Ho-ho. So I changed the LED color. It's actually not too hard. The hardest part is figuring out what color. I guess that's kind of easy now that this is under this light. What color these actually are, because they're not really labeled in any way. These are the smaller size that you used to use on the 360. That you used 4 of them around the guide button or whatever it used to be called. So they're not as easy to install as the right size would have been. These are 0603 LEDs, but you can use those or the 0805 LEDs. You can buy a couple hundred of them for 10-15 bucks. But yeah, the solder job's not too bad if you have a really fine tip, which I got in the mail the other day. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the lights back on, rip this thing open. I'll show you the solder points, yeah, if you want to do it, just feel free to ask me questions. This is one of the tougher ones though, so you're going to want to be pretty confident in your soldering skills. This is the soldering point that you need to worry about. It's right here. This is directly under the guide button, which is up in this area here. And like you said, the solder points are just so tiny. If you look, this is the tip of some electronics tweezers, and they're just small enough to grab it. So what you have to do if you're going to use this smaller size, the 0603s, you have to build up the solder a little bit on each side so the connection's made. And they're super tiny. The solder job is actually rather tough for a beginner. So this is more of an intermediate one. It's not impossible and it's not very difficult actually, but a little bit of practice is definitely something you're going to want to do. So yeah, those are the points there, and then you can switch between a bunch of different colors. Getting it back in is a little bit of a pain in the butt, so I don't think I'll be doing this one too often, but yeah, because it's a pain in the butt. But it's definitely possible, and it's not difficult, and it's actually easier than the 360, because in the 360 you had to do 4 of them, and they were always the small size. You can actually order the 0805 LEDs, and they drop in there much easier. So if you're going to do it, I'd recommend getting the bigger ones, and make sure you practice first. What I was saying about it being a pain in the butt, getting it back in, you're going to have to take this part off right here if you want to get this board back in, because it's just the connections here are just a pain in the ass. One thing that you want to keep an eye out for, and I figured I'd mention this is the button right here that resets your wireless or your connection to your 360 or Xbox One, and it actually goes into a little slot on the other side of there. I tried for a long time trying to get it in this piece and get it connected in there, and it was a big giant pain in the ass, and it got me really frustrated and had to walk away from it for a little bit. Came back in and I just saw there was a slot, and I felt like a dumbass afterwards. So yeah, and then basically you just drop this board, it drops in like that with a little bit of adjustment, which I'm obviously going to do off camera, but and then this piece will go back in. You just got to be careful putting it back in, and if you can't get it in, you're going to want to take the bumpers off, put this on, and then put the bumpers back on. Bigger pain in the ass. So just be careful, don't crack these pieces. The replacement shells are still kind of a pain in the ass to get a hold of, so figured I'd mention it. Later, guys. The thing that makes this a pain in the ass, these buttons are keyed. They only go in one way, obviously, and sometimes they get stuck when you've already screwed the circuit board back in. You take everything all apart again. Really, there's a tip. If you just loosen them up enough that the board's loose, you can use a piece of tape, stick the tape to it, and rotate the tape, and then it'll fall back into the slot, and you can probably work it back into place without having to take everything all apart again. Just figured I'd mention that. Have it all put back together. Personal controller with the purple light. That's going to get swapped out to a green one so it matches my Control Freaks eventually. But I'm not going to do that until I get enough spare cash together to order some replacement shells, because I think I'm getting an airbrush for Father's Day, and I kind of want to start doing some airbrush designs, or even just painting them with some automotive sparkle color candy paints and things like that. So this one's good. It's got the control freaks, it's got the change there. I've got the internal trigger stops on this. I got the rear buttons for A and B. Kind of scuff style. I got the anti-creak on the sides, and yeah, I mean, this one's got everything that I can do at the moment. Some of the more inventive things are to come in the future when these parts are starting to get a little more abundant. But yeah, it's everything that I've shown thus far. However, I did want to mention that the grip spray that I use works great. However, same problem I have had with Plastidip in the past is it's starting to wear at the edges and just kind of flake off. So I think I'm going to hit the books again on that, and you know, see where we end up. But I might have to just peel this stuff off and try again. Another option that's actually perfectly doable is getting some squid grips, cutting them and putting them on there. I love the way those feel. And then the other thing is Scuff Pro Grips are only like 15 bucks. Those things are pretty nice too. So there's some options there. But if you want to go the DIY route, I think I get a little more research to do. So yeah, maybe we'll revisit that one in the future. Thanks, guys.